Before we go to the fourth topic, I want to ask you one more question because I think it's important. When we spoke last time, you were talking about the fissures that might develop between, because your book, Money Lies in God, one of the things you do in the book really well is sort of describe and break down who all the, the types of people are that are involved with this movement and how they kind of fit together.
Yeah.
And one of the things to do is to break that union apart, divide and conquer, as you said. Have you seen in the last 78 days, or even in the last 2 days?
In the last 2 days,
have you seen any fissures?
The last 2 days. Yeah. With the fissures within the, where are we breaking around the money?
Well, I think the greatest opportunity for fissures is between the agenda of the funders of the movement and the agenda of the rank and file, or I call.
And the funders are the big funders. We got Leonard Leo.
Well, I want to name funders. So we're talking about the Corkeries, Sean Filer, Barry Side, Jeff Yass. We're talking about some of those tech bros, right? Like Musk and Andreessen. We are looking at people like the Betsy, like members of the Betsy DeVos Prince family juggernaut. We're looking at energy billionaires like Tim Dunn and the Wilkes brothers. Here's the interesting thing about...
What about my neighbor, Harlan Crow?
Indeed. Is he really your neighbor?
He's my neighbor.
That's wild.
Yeah.
We went up there.
So
Greg came up. We went tromping in.
Here's the interesting thing about the funders. Religiously, they're really all over the place. Some of them are evangelical, some are Protestant, some are Catholic, some are Jewish, and some are, frankly, atheistic. And religiously, they're, all over the place, but they're really united in their conviction that they need to destroy liberalism and liberal democracy, and they're investing a part of their fortunes in these anti-democratic projects. And their agenda is really, low taxes or no taxes for the rich. They want privileged contracts from the government for their monopolistic businesses.
They want to be oligarchs. Yeah.
They want to be oligarchs. It's not just money that they're after. I think there's a psychological aspect to it because they don't really need the money. I think there's almost like a justification for their vast fortunes. It's the unearned wealth that they have. I think that there's a sense in which they understand that the vast concentration of wealth at the super tippy top of the economic ladder is really impoverishing most Americans. I mean, this is a movement that draws on some legitimate grievances. People are finding it harder to make a living. They look at their parents' lives and their lives. They say, why is it so much harder? We got 2 parents and 4 jobs, and we still can't afford dignity for our families. And the movement is very good at taking those grievances and then finding, a scapegoat. Like if you can blame that all on a trans woman, that's your problem, right? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, these sort of massive distractions that take away from the sort of bread and butter issues. But it's all in the service of these billionaires. How are these billionaires going to get, a lot of the people I feature in my books to vote a certain way? Well, you got to make them believe that, in this sort of culture war stuff, that's how they do it. But
cynical sadism.
It's cynical sadism. But I think a lot of it comes from this sort of psychological, they have this an injury to their narcissism when they hear their critics say, you should be paying more taxes, and maybe you should pay your workers more so they don't have to go to the government to get their health care. What Amazon does, with these warehouse workers. And I don't know if you guys have read that sort of wonderful book about these older people who go work as seasonal workers at Amazon, and then they hurt their backs and they're told to just it's just horrifying. The abuse of the American workforce is pretty appalling. So
economic strikes on these guys would work. I mean, an economic strike against Amazon and a building up to that would actually.
I just think that there's an opportunity with really sort of good messaging. We need, charismatic leadership. Obviously, we have an opportunity to say to people as they're hurting, as they lose their jobs, as their cost of groceries is getting unaffordable, as they can no longer eat eggs, as their cost of housing is completely out of control, as their public school shutters. We have the opportunity to say, here are the people who are doing this to you, right? And these are the people fighting for you.